Okay, so I'm now going to be joined by Mark Wilson, who I'm very pleased to see is still on the agenda. I'll explain why in a moment. I think we're going to have Mark join me on screen in a second. Here he is. Hi, Mark.
Hi Brian, good morning.
Nice to see you. My concern was returning to football was the thrashing that your team Liverpool gave West Ham recently. I thought Dan might scrub you off the agenda after that.
He's not spoke to me since.
Okay, and I understand you're a very keen cyclist, but I guess the weather, you haven't been out much lately.
No, it's a little too cold for that at the moment.
And dangerous. I saw my paper delivery boy go over head over heels on his bike the other morning, trying to deliver the papers. So yeah, it's a bit dodgy at the moment in England, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So,
So Mark, you're going to be talking about solutions that are powering service provider networks. To keeping to time, I'm going to be quiet and again say once again, the stage is yours.
Thanks, Brian. Hi all. I'm going to spend this next session with you to introduce or briefly refresh you on Cambium Networks portfolio without going into too much detail. Effectively, I'll just cover the solutions powering our service providers networks today. So to start, let's start with software and applications. Cambium Networks has a number of applications useful to service providers, starting with CM Maestro. CM Maestro, for those who aren't familiar, is a management platform that can manage the majority of the Cambium Networks portfolio in a single pane of glass. So you can manage backhaul, point-to-point, point-to-multipoint, and the majority of the enterprise portfolio with the exception of the Xeris X-Series access points. And this is available in two flavors: CM Maestro Essentials, which is a freemium offering with great dashboard insights into the network and guest access functionality. And Cambium Networks has recently just announced CM Maestro X, which builds on the free version with enhanced features and longer data retention. I've just mentioned the X series. So XMS and EasyPass. In 2019, Cambium Networks acquired the Xeris product portfolio from Riverbed Technology, and part of the acquisition included the management platform, which is XMS. XMS can be used for our X series enterprise access points, switches, and our Wi-Fi 6 access points. XMS comes packed with features and reporting tools, including but not limited to application control and visibility, allowing you to manage and control over 2,000 different applications. And XMS also has a bunch of guest access portals, included federated identity. So using Microsoft or Google, so Microsoft Azure or Google, basically you can click an SSID, and rather than being prompted to put in your pre-shared key or seeing a guest network pop up, you'll actually see your Google or Microsoft login page. And unless you're part of that domain, you won't gain access. But if you are part of that domain, not only do you gain access to the network, you'll also sign on to your Google or Azure account and your applications. Another management platform we've got is CM Swift. This is for the small enterprise deployments. Cambium Networks Swift gives you cloud-based management of your enterprise networks right from your phone. So you can configure your network in a few taps and get the most relevant statistics at your fingertips. Moving on to the planning tools. One of my favorite planning tools is Link Planner. This is a fantastic tool for our service providers, allowing you to design the point-to-point links or your point-to-multipoint links. And you can actually see if the design is theoretically possible and what the expected performance is. And once you've done your design, you can actually print off or send an installation report to actually help with the installation. CN Heat, another great tool built upon Cambium Networks' expertise in fixed wireless radio planning, using propagation and modeling as seen in Link Planner and integrated with GIS data down to 1 meter precision. CN Heat generates highly accurate RF predictions and derivative services that accurately represent the reality of the RF world. CN Heat features 4 capabilities: locate, identify, optimize, and LiDAR, allowing you to predict coverage for pre-qualification, identify buildings to be targeted for marketing, and allow a service provider to optimally place a greenfield site to cover the desired subscribers. Wi-Fi Designer on the enterprise side of things is a free-to-use cloud-based tool. It's used to show a rough desktop prediction of an enterprise wireless coverage. It's free to use, and it can help with the initial conversations for managed service providers when talking to a prospect, and it can also help generate a bill of materials. CN Archer, it's not a design tool, but CN Archer is a free mobile app that gives the field technicians the information they need to configure and properly align the Cambium Networks point-to-multipoint and ePMP wireless broadband subscriber modules. So to complement the applications and software, or to allow the applications to perform the function required, we have to have some hardware. Cambium Networks has a large portfolio for the service providers for both backhaul and enterprise. Looking at the point-to-point product line, Cambium Networks offers licensed microwave products on the P2P 820, 850 range, starting at 6 GHz up to 86 GHz, with options for full outdoor units to split mount offerings, with link speeds of 596 megabits per second up to 10 gigabits per second. In the sub 6 GHz point-to-point space, we have the P2P 670 operating in the 5 GHz band, but using a proprietary radio offering speeds up to 450 megabits per second. And more recently, just announced but not shown, is the ePMP Force 400 series, offering point-to-point links using 802.11ax technology, offering up to 1 gigabits per second throughput. Moving on into the point-to-multipoint space, we have an LTE offering. However, I don't think the CN Ranger product would be much use in our region due to the frequency used, and effectively that frequency being pretty much taken up by the MNOs. But we do have products in the 3 GHz and 5 GHz space. The PMP 450 range in the 3 and 5 GHz, looking at the 5 GHz is our flagship product, being the 14 by 14 massive multi-user MIMO, offering up to 7 concurrent 2 by 2 connections, supporting up to 238 subscribers. The 3 GHz variation of this is an 8 by 8. We also offer the same technology in a smaller unit, the 450i, which comes with an integrated or a connectorized antenna, so you can choose the different antenna types you wish. The Wi-Fi based point-to-multipoint portfolio is the ePMP range, offering the right sized access point with different antenna types from omni to sector and even a dual horn antenna. Also, some of the APs and subscribers have the ability to use the twist port antenna for those providers who like to use horns. Finally, in the point-to-multipoint technology is something I'm really excited about, but I'm not going to talk to you about it because I know later on Anthony's going to be taking you through Cambium Networks 60 GHz 802.11ay Telegraph based product. Moving on to our Wi-Fi portfolio for our enterprise service providers. Currently, we have 3 offerings. The X series access points from the Xeris acquisition, offering 2 to 4 radio devices with software definable radios, allowing you to change the 2.4 radio to 5 GHz. The ability to configure application control to monitor, manage, block over 2,000 different applications. And like the rest of the portfolio, it is a distributed solution. It's what we like to call the intelligent edge. We don't have a single point of failure. The E-Series access point, or the CN Pilot APs, is our economically priced access points that can be managed in CN Maestro, it has a wide selection of outdoor units and indoor units, from a hospitality wall plate access point up to a 4x4 822.11 AC or Wi-Fi 5 access point. Our flagship enterprise APs in this is our new Wi-Fi 6 access points, the XV series. These can be managed on either CM Maestro or on XMS. Currently, we have two flavors: a value-based 2x2 and a powerhouse 5 GHz, 8x8 5 GHz, and a 4x4 2.4 GHz product, which is the XV3. And what's special about the XV3 is that 8x8 5 GHz radio can actually be deployed as two 4x4 radios. So at a couple of clicks of a button, you can actually deploy the XV3 as a 3 client serving access point with two 5 GHz radios and one 2.4 GHz radio. An AP not shown for our WISP community for our WISP community is the R series access point. It's a home-based router, which is able to be managed and configured using CM Maestro. Next up in our technologies and products is the industrial IoT. This is useful for small data, approximately 10 to 70 kilobits per second, and over very long distances, up to 70 miles. In ETSI, it's licensed. I don't know if any service providers are using this, but it's worth knowing if anyone wants to, I don't know, flip a switch or to monitor anything in particular. Switches, our switch range, the CM Matrix range currently we have two ranges of switches. We have the EX1K switch and the EX2K switch. These are edge-based switches with offerings of 10 to 52 ports with different specifications, but the common feature on these switches is PBA, policy-based automation. Policy-based automation allows you to configure a policy rather than having to configure the ports individually. So you can configure a policy based on LLDP, MAC address, MAC OUI within the management platform, and that's in CM Maestro or XMS. And you can actually send the switch out to your customer and just tell the customer to actually plug in whatever network cable they want into the port without having to worry about what cable they're plugging into what port. What will happen is the switch will identify the device that's been plugged in, match it to the policy, and configure the port accordingly. And then if that cable is ever unplugged from the switch will actually perform a cleanup of that port and default its configuration on that port. A switch product that isn't released but shown right at the very bottom is actually our TX range of switches. This range of switches is due out very soon, so watch your space. But the highlights of it is the power is 82.3 AF, AT, BT, low voltage passive PoE, and high power 4 PPoE. So it should actually power the 450 M5 GHz. The TX switch will have dual GPS synchronization sources and a common replaceable power supply. As I said, this switch is soon, will be released soon, so just watch your space for more information. And finally, before I pop you back over to Brian, we've got the CM Vision portfolio, the video surveillance portfolio. This isn't a range of cameras, and this is actually to complement or enhance the video surveillance deployments. But it's based on the EPMP 3000 Force 300 range. This product has ONVIF support built in, which allows a service provider to actually check if the camera is operational. You can log in directly onto the access point or onto the subscriber and see the feed from the camera. We also have VMS support, so you can have a CM Vision tile within your VMS system, allowing you to monitor the APs and subscribers, thus reducing truck rolls when trying to diagnose if the backhaul link is faulty or the camera is faulty, what you can do is you can check either the access point, if you can see the camera, or you can check the VMS system to see if you can see the link mapped up. If anyone wants any more details on any of the portfolio or a deeper dive, feel free to reach out at any time. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for that, Mark. You packed a lot in there and certainly enlarged upon what Alessio was saying about the sheer breadth of the portfolio. I've had a couple of questions in for you, actually. The first one is, what distances can you sort of expect using 60 gigahertz CN wave?
As I said during the presentation, I'd love to talk about the same wave, but I don't really want to steal Anthony's thunder. So if you can hold on for an hour or so, I'm pretty sure Anthony will cover all of that off for you.
All right, then. The other one, I'm going to read this out as it came in. It says, can CN Vision be managed in CN Maestro? And do you have a CN Vision client that can power a camera?
So that's two questions. Okay, so at the moment, CN Vision can't be managed in CN Maestro. And the second part to the question, do we have a client that can power a camera? In fact, yes. We've recently just released the Client Max RP, which actually has 3 PoE outputs on it. So the answer to that one is yes.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mark, for your presentation, and I'm sure you'll get more questions and queries as the day goes on.
Thank you, Brian.